What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going over no cook meal prep ideas. So literally zero cook time, or if I do share an idea inside of this training that requires cooking, it's something as simple as putting it in the oven for 45 to 60 minutes. You set it, forget it, you pull it out of the oven, boom. You now have a lunch or a dinner for the entire week. And the reason that I wanted to do this training is because I talk to so many busy Christian men, and they say that time is one of the biggest roadblocks or obstacles in terms of holding them back from reaching their fitness goals. So after going through this training, there should be no more excuses. You're going to have plenty of ideas and know exactly how to be on target with your nutrition goals, because we're also going to show you how to calculate your maintenance calories, how to set up your calorie deficit, and then what apps we recommend to track those calories to make sure that you actually see success on the scale. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So again, we're going to be going over how to lose 15 pounds or more with no cooking. So goodbye cooking stress, normal hassle of dishes. Let's get into it. So before I actually go over some of those microwave meals, grab and go options, I wanted to tell you guys, how do you actually lose weight? Because if we fail to understand this core principle, then it doesn't matter if we're doing grab and go options or if we're actually cooking our own meals and doing any sort of meal prep. So what I first want to say is that weight loss does not magically come from eating healthier options. Believe it or not, it is still possible to gain fat while you are eating healthy, and we'll see how on the next couple of slides. But I also want to share that the only true way to lose weight is by being in a calorie deficit. And the way that we can understand this principle is by looking at something called energy balance. So if you imagine it as a scale, and we have weight gain on one side and weight loss on the other side, you can see that if calories in are more than calories out and we start to tip that scale, that is what leads to weight gain. Conversely, if we have calories out, or how many calories we're burning on a daily basis, that's more, or I guess it should be less than the calories in. That's a calorie deficit, and that's what's going to lead to weight loss. So to actually put this into some practical examples and put some numbers to it, because this might be a little bit confusing at first. Let's say your maintenance calories are 2,500. That's how many calories you burn on a daily basis. If you're in a 500 calorie surplus, you're eating 3,000 calories per day, that is going to lead to weight gain, regardless of where those food sources or that food quality is coming from. And then also, if your maintenance is 2,500 and you're eating 2,000 calories per day, you would be in a 500 calorie deficit, and that would lead to weight loss, again, regardless of where that food is coming from or what that food quality is. So I wanted to look at an example of a day of healthy eating and see how we can still actually gain fat, even though we're trying to eat quote unquote cleaner. So let's see what that might look like. For breakfast, we might have 2 free-range eggs. We're going to cook that in some coconut oil. And on the side, we're going to have some oatmeal and 200 grams of fat-free yogurt. So sounds like a pretty healthy breakfast, right? For snack, we're going to have 30 grams of some almonds. Lunch is going to be a small salad with some avocado, small chicken breast on top of it with some olive oil as dressing, and maybe some pine nuts to garnish it. Then our second snack of the day is going to be some crackers with a small thing of hummus. From there, for dinner, maybe we have a salmon fillet, keep the skin on there. And then as a side, we have some sweet potato topped with a tablespoon of grass-fed butter. And then we also have veggies as a side. So we got some green beans and asparagus. So again, pretty healthy dinner there, right? And then our bedtime snack is going to be 3 brown rice cakes with some natural peanut butter. And we can see after that full day of eating, we are at 2,870 calories. We have 130 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbs, and 150 grams of fat. So 130 grams of protein is quite low. A general recommendation or rule of thumb would be eating roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And most guys who are looking to lose weight are 180 pounds or higher. Maybe they're in the 220s, 240s, in which case you can lower that protein recommendation a little bit and maybe go off of lean body mass, but that's a topic for another training. However, I want to point out here, even though this person would be eating healthier, they're consuming nearly 3,000 calories and their protein is way low for fat loss and building muscle. If we look at an example of flexible dieting, we can see for breakfast, maybe we have some French toast and we're going to make that with a cinnamon raisin bagel, some egg whites, and some vanilla protein powder. Our first snack of the day is going to be an entire bag of caramel rice cakes. And then from there, lunch, we can do a low carb, high fiber wrap. So we're going to put some turkey bacon in there, reduced fat cheddar, and then the works. So lettuce, tomato, mayo, and whatever else you want to throw in there as well. And then we can have an apple with that. Our second snack could be kiwi and some beef jerky to get a little bit of extra protein. And then dinner, we can have steak with a baked potato and some butter spray instead of the grass-fed butter. We can also have half a can of some baked beans and some green peas as vegetables. And then snack or bedtime snack could be some Greek yogurt, some natural almond butter, and then a serving of mixed berries. So if we take a look at this example specifically, that is 1,970 calories, which is 900 calories less than the previous example that we just looked at. Plus protein is way higher. So it's 190 grams of protein. So the person that's eating like this and undergoing what we call flexible dieting is going to have a much easier time losing that weight as opposed to the person who's just trying to eat healthy. So give me one sec. Get a drink here. So at this point, you might be wondering, that's great, Tyler, but how many calories do I need to eat in order to lose weight? So there's a simple solution for that. I want you to go to Google, type in TDEE calculator, and then hit enter. And this will be the first one that pops up, the tdeecalculator.net. It'll pull up a page that looks like this. You go in, put in your age, your weight, your height, your activity level. And then if you have your body fat information, you can plug that in as well. It will give you a more accurate reading. And just a general rule of thumb here is that whatever this gives you for your total daily energy expenditure, which is how many calories you're burning per day, set your target for 500 calories less than that. So a pound of fat is roughly 3,500 calories. So if each day you're eating 500 calories below your maintenance, at the end of the week, that should be roughly 3,500 calories and roughly 1 pound of fat. So there are more nuances that go into it, but again, that's just some very general advice. But if you're someone who's like, Tyler, that's great, but how do we get these calculations? Or I want a more in-depth reasoning or rationale for how I actually get to that number. I do want to say that here within our Facebook group, you can go to the guide section, scroll down to guide number 3, and that is our How to Diet series. And we go over the fat loss essentials. So if you want to watch all these, you'll become a dieting pro. But the two that I would recommend for this specific topic in this slide would be how many calories should I eat? And then how to calculate your maintenance calories. Because once you can do that, then you know exactly how many calories you need to be eating in order to lose weight. So these are two great options for you. The next step would be getting an app to track. So we have MyFitnessPal as a potential option, Lose It, a calorie counter from MyNet Diary. My favorite is Avatar Nutrition. This is the one that I use with all of the Physique Lab official lab partners, but it doesn't really matter what app you're using. The important thing is that you are tracking your calories because you cannot measure what you cannot track. So again, think back to that example of eating 2,900 calories versus 1,900 calories. If you're not tracking that, you have no idea and you're basically flying blind in the dark. So before I get into the actual meals and give you guys some examples, what I want to do is give you some general advice for how I go about picking these types of meals, or maybe qualifying or disqualifying and saying, hey, that might not be a good option for a grab and go option, but this one might be. Because again, the list that I'm going to be showing you is not exhaustive by any means. My idea and hope here is to give you guys some ideas that if you do want to copy, by all means go for it. But the idea here is to teach you the principles behind it so that way you can take inspiration and go out into whatever grocery store you have and find your own grab and go meals and not have to cook and still lose weight. So with that, let's get into this general advice. The first one is going to be aiming for 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, including breakfast. So that's one of the biggest blunders that I see guys making in their weight loss journeys. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. So I said earlier, most guys are over 180 pounds when they're trying to lose weight, and they're going to be eating around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So that would come out to be 180 grams of protein per day. Let's say that person is eating 4 meals per day at 40 grams of protein. That would total 160 grams of protein, which still leaves them 20 grams shy of that 180 mark. So let's say that person, for example, decided to get no protein at breakfast, or maybe like 5 grams of protein. All they had was a bowl of oatmeal. That's going to bring them down to 120 grams of protein for that day. And you're now way short on that target of 180 grams of protein. So it's very important to get your protein in at breakfast and every single meal for that matter. The next one is going to be looking at the nutrition label. This is a very important skill to have, but in the context of finding grab and go type meals, what I want you to look at is the protein to fat ratio. So look for things that have a protein to fat ratio of 2 to 1 if possible, or higher. The higher that ratio, the better. But as an absolute bare minimum, I would recommend looking for things that have a 1-to-1 protein to fat ratio. And the reason for that being, if we look at the actual calorie values for these macronutrients, so we have protein is 4 calories per gram, carbs are also 4 calories per gram, but fats are 9 calories per gram. So that's more than twice the amount of calories per gram of fat per gram of protein. Per gram of protein. So for example, let's say you had 10 grams of protein, that would be 40 calories total. But if you had 10 grams of fat, that would be 90 calories total. So once you start to go beyond this 1-to-1 protein to fat ratio, what you'd find is if you're tracking, you are going to blow through your fats and your total daily calories way too fast. And then you're going to have to eat other stuff like just protein and carbs to try and make up for it, which is going to be quite difficult. So again, try to stick to this 2-to-1 ratio if possible. The last one is going to be get your fruits and veggies in where possible. So one of the downfalls with a lot of these grab and go meals is that they don't incorporate fruits or vegetables. So you need to be smart about that. One potential thing you could consider doing, which you should probably do, is supplement with a multivitamin. But on top of that, you could also supplement with a reds and greens powder, which will give you all those micronutrients that your body is craving. However, I think those are sort of a band-aid to the bigger problem, which is the fact that you don't want to eat your fruits and veggies in the first place. So I will show you throughout the rest of this presentation that if you are wise about it, it's really not that difficult to still get your fruits and veggies in, even if you are doing these no-cook meals. So with that, let's take a look at breakfast. I sort of split it up into 2 categories throughout this presentation, one of them being Walmart type meals. So I did go through the Walmart catalog and pull things that's on Walmart's grocery lists or what they'd have on the shelves. But this could be applied to any general grocery store, like I think it's Shaw's up in the Northeast. You have Publix down here in Florida, like Meijer, whatever it might be. You know, the same principles are going to apply. But then I also have big bulk stores like Costco. So later in the presentation, we'll go through everything Costco related, but that also works for something like Sam's Club or if there's any other big box stores that sell in bulk. But anyways, one potential breakfast that this is a go-to of mine is just a protein shake, piece of fruit, and some almond butter or peanut butter. So personally, I like to do PE Science. You can save 10% with code FITCHEMIST, but I do PE Science, 2% milk, and that puts me at about 35 to 40 grams of protein. And then I'll either do an apple or a banana. I'm Team Honeycrisp. Let me know what kind of apples you guys like down in the comments. But then I pair that with some almond butter. That's another 5 grams of protein. So that whole meal right there, we're looking at 45 grams of protein for minimal work, right? But if you don't have protein powder, or maybe you don't want to do milk, you can consider doing these Fairlife drinks. They do sell these at Walmart, but they also sell them in bulk at Costco. So you can get that, and you can see there's 30 grams of protein. Or you could try doing something like this Chobani complete yogurt drink. But I would say here, this only has 20 grams of protein. So if you pair that with some almond butter, you're looking at 25 grams of protein or so, which again is below that mark of 30 to 40 grams. But again, general template there for you guys to use. Another one would be making some oatmeal. So you could do some rolled oats, you could do quick oats, you could do bananas and some almonds. So that would look a little something like this. Looks like this picture has some sunflower seeds in there as well to get some healthy fats. You could also put some organic syrup if you want some extra carbs, maybe a dash of cinnamon, or let's say you're low on calories and you don't want the syrup, you could put some sugar-free syrup in there. The one thing or one word of caution would be that if you only did this, that would just be a very carb-heavy meal. And that's what most people eat when they're trying to lose weight because they think this is healthy, but it's important to get that protein in. So I'd consider pairing that with something like a protein shake that we see up here. All right, next up, does anybody like parfaits in here? This is a super simple breakfast idea. Take 2 of these 000 Greek yogurts, 15 grams of protein each. So if we have 2, 30 grams of protein right there. Put in some mixed berries, and then we can also mix that with oats and honey granola or whatever flavor that you like. Depending on the granola that you choose, there will be anywhere from 5 to 10, maybe even up to 15 grams of protein. So you're looking at a parfait that takes no time to prep, and you've got 40 grams of protein for breakfast. That's a big win right there. Or you could do something like a high protein cereal. So Special K has a pretty good one, 20 grams of protein, mix that with some of this extra creamy oat milk. So kind of like a milk substitute here. And I believe there's 5 grams of protein in there. So right there, you're looking at 25 grams of protein, and you pair that with the Kashigo protein waffle. You're looking at 38 grams of protein. Maybe you're hungry for breakfast and you have 2 waffles. Now you're looking at, what is that, 51, 52 grams of protein, something like that. So that's a super simple breakfast idea as well. Now I want to switch over to Costco and just look at some of their available grab and go options. The spinach egg white frittatas are definitely a good option. You could also do their organic hard-boiled eggs and then these fully cooked chicken sausages. So a simple meal idea would be cutting a couple of these in half, cooking these in the microwave and slicing those in half, throwing that in between a bagel, maybe top it with a piece of cheese before you put the top part of the bagel on. Boom, you have a breakfast sandwich, and that took maybe 2 minutes to prepare, minimal cooking, if any at all. But obviously, bagels alone and these oatmeal alone is just going to be a straight carbohydrate source. So you got to do something to get your protein in there. They also have these egg and green chili burritos, which are pretty good. You can do this keto-friendly egg witch. So they actually turn the buns into egg patties. So it's very low carb. So something else you could consider doing is taking the egg witch and putting that in between the bagel and just making your own breakfast sandwich, because this already has the cheese and the turkey sausage patty on there for you. Another one that I see people going for at Costco a lot was the organic acai bowl, which, don't get me wrong, I think that's an easy way to get your fruits in without having to do any sort of prep work. But it's hard to see. There's 3 grams of protein in the whole bowl, and there's 8 grams of fat. So that's not a very good protein to fat ratio, but again, it's an easy way to get your fruits in. And if you were to pair that with something like a protein shake, which is virtually pure protein, you're going to bump up that protein to fat ratio for the whole meal if you pair it together. Right? So those are some good breakfast options from Costco. Now we can get into lunch and dinners and actual meals. So the first one would be getting some Tyson grilled and ready chicken strips. Mix that with bird's eye veggie pasta. They have tons of different flavors of that, but you can microwave that right in the bag. These chicken strips are ready to go. Throw that on there. If you want some extra Alfredo sauce, or maybe you want marinara, whatever it might be, you can mix that together. Boom, you have a pasta dish in like less than a couple minutes. Another one might be making some sort of an orange chicken stir fry. So you can get this family size orange chicken from Walmart. You can get Ben's original ready rice. So they've got different flavors there, but they already have a fried rice flavor. And then you can also get some bird's eye stir fry veggies. You mix that together. Boom, you've now got that stir fry. Could also consider subbing out the rice for some sort of instant ramen type noodles and make a stir fry kind of thing, or like a copycat Panda Express recipe, whatever it might be. You guys can get creative here. Another simple one is just making a wrap. So you can do the chicken breast strips here. These Joseph's lavish bread, I don't know if that's how you say it correctly, but these are very low in calories. So you can mix those plus an avocado. And then you can see here, you can throw in some spinach, some lettuce, some tomato, whatever it might be. Another way to incorporate some veggies there. So definitely be smart about that if you're doing some wraps. Or you could do an open-faced salmon sandwich. So you can get some smoked salmon. You can get Dave's Killer Bread, which I think has like 5 or 6 grams. It looks like 5 grams of protein per slice. So if you have 2 of those, you're getting 10 grams of protein from the bread alone, plus probably 30 grams of protein from the salmon. Get yourself some cream cheese spread, put that on there. And then it looks like this one, I don't know if that's like a spinach leaf and cucumber or something, but again, you can incorporate veggies and be smart about it. And this would take absolutely no time to prepare either. If you want to get even fancier and spend a little bit more time prepping, you're not quite cooking, but you have to mix all these ingredients together. You could do something like a copycat kava bowl. So again, grilled chicken strips. You get some chickpeas, some feta crumbles, minute brown rice. So they come in these nice little cups. You literally throw it in the microwave for a minute and it's good to go. You can mix it with some hummus, some cucumber, and tzatziki. And then there you go. You've got like a Mediterranean type bowl meal for lunch or dinner. And then if you don't feel like doing any sort of prep at all, and you literally just want to throw something in the microwave, you don't want to have to mix it, whatever it might be, they do have some good frozen options. So this Lean Cuisine Balance Bowl, the glazed chicken in particular, has pretty good macros on it. So you can see protein is 24 grams, total fat 7 grams. So that's almost a 4-to-1 ratio of protein to fat. However, I will say that 320 calories is not enough to fuel most grown men. So I would recommend having 2 of those bowls if you're going to do that for lunch. Same thing when it comes to this Healthy Choice Power Bowl. So again, only 210 calories. This one has a slightly less favorable ratio of protein to fat. So it's about 2-to-1. Not quite as good as this one. But again, the point of this training is that you guys are learning this skill. So when you go look at frozen meals at the grocery store, you can find those things and you can know how to actually fit that into the context of losing weight. So protein and fat, we want 2-to-1 or higher if possible. Both of these fit that bill. You could also do this Quest loaded pizza. So this is the meat lovers one. If you eat that whole pizza for lunch, it's 820 calories. You get 53 grams of fat and 66 grams of protein. So pretty close to 1-to-1, but still to get 66 grams of protein and have a whole pizza for lunch or dinner. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty enticing to me. So could be a potential good option. But again, that's also why we track, because we can fit that amount of fat into the context of everything else that we're eating. And we'll see a little bit of that later on when we go through an example meal plan using these items. So another one would be these mega bowls. This one, I would say be careful with this brand because they tend to choose meal styles that aren't as quote unquote healthy, and they tend to have more fat content in them. So this one does have 31 grams of protein. Oh, that's interesting. So I pulled this nutrition label from the same category on Walmart, and it says 28 grams protein. So we'll just set around 30. Fat content is only at 17. So this is almost a 2-to-1 ratio, which is pretty good. But again, some of the other ones that they have on there are a little bit closer to 1-to-1 or even worse than that. So just be mindful of that when you're going for frozen meals. I would be remiss if I didn't mention any snack ideas. So again, at this point, I think you understand that protein is super important in our weight loss journey. So all of these are going to be great protein options when we're going through a dieting phase. So we already saw the Greek yogurt. You could also consider doing some cottage cheese. I know that's a pretty good bedtime snack because it does have casein type protein in it, which is a slower digesting protein. So you can mix that with some honey or some fruit or maybe all the above. String cheese is a great protein snack. Each individual string cheese has 6 grams of protein. So if you have 3 of those, that's 18 grams of protein as a snack right there. You could do some sort of turkey sandwich real quick, or if you just want to have a lunch meat, you could do that too. Get some protein in. These Quest chips have about 20 grams of protein, so I think those clock in at 19. They have 4 or 5 different flavors. They're all pretty good. I've tried them. You could do these tuna creations, which they have lots of different flavors of this, and it's virtually pure protein. So there's no carbs or fats in here. Straight protein source. You could also put that on a sandwich if you want. One word of caution with that is do not eat that on an airplane or a small closed office space, because I think you might get some people around you complaining about the smell. But other than that, if you can avoid that, this is a great protein source. Beef jerky and these P3s or portable proteins pack, all of those have, or both of those have 10 grams of protein. So those are good as well. You could do a protein bar. It doesn't have to be pure protein brand. One of my favorites is one brand birthday cake flavor from Walmart. So you can try that out. Let me know what you think. And then I also included some healthy nuts in here. So just a mix of assorted nuts. I think that's a good snack, but in that particular case, you're going to have a lot more fat than you do protein. So it'll be something like a 1-to-3 ratio of protein to fat, which is below our 1-to-1, but again, fitting it into the context of everything can still potentially be a good option for you. So with that, we can transition over into Costco ideas, and we're going to start with some of the pre-made options. So one of them would be Costco's chicken Alfredo. So you can see it's already packaged up in this container. All you have to do is preheat the oven to 400 degrees, pop it in there, leave it in for an hour, take it out, boom, you're done. You got chicken Alfredo for the week. But again, looking at the nutrition label, we can see 17 grams of fat and 17 grams of protein. So what I did, I'm actually having this week. That's what inspired this training. But what I did was I paired these fully cooked chicken breast bites from Fresh Edition. So they sell those at Costco. They're about this big and they sell them in packs of 10. So that should cover you for the week. So what I did was I took each serving of chicken Alfredo and I just dumped one of those chicken packs, whatever you want to call it, on top of it to bump that up to like 34, 40 grams of protein, something like that. Because you can see, I think each of these have 21. So just adding some extra protein to my day. Another one would be taking those chicken breast bites and just making a salad out of it. So you can get this Taylor Farms Mediterranean crunch salad. I do believe Costco has a couple other pre-made salads that look like this, or at least come in those types of containers. So all you have to do is literally open the container, put the salad on your plate, top it with some chicken, throw some dressing, whatever veggies you want in there. Boom, you have a salad, healthy lunch, good option. Next one would be these real good chicken and pepper jack cheese burritos. So I'm actually having this week for meal prep as well. And they clock in at 37 grams of protein per burrito. I think 450 calories per burrito. So right now I'm having 900 calories for dinner, and I'm getting like over 70 grams of protein. And these are surprisingly good. I've tried pre-made burritos in the past, and some of them have been not very good. The chicken's dry, the flavor's not there, but I would actually recommend these types of burritos. Another one would be Costco's enchilada bake, but this one does have slightly more fat content than it does protein, so just under that 1-to-1 ratio. So if I were to have something like that, I would definitely add those chicken breast bites in there to bump up that protein content. Chicken noodle soup from Costco actually has phenomenal macro profile. So you can see 18 grams of protein down here and 3.5 grams of fat. So that's almost a 6-to-1 protein to fat ratio. So who knew Costco was coming in clutch with their chicken noodle soup, especially as we get into fall months later on, maybe someone revisiting this training in the future. Let's see, stuffed peppers. I personally am a little bit burnt out on these because I've had them so many times, but hopefully you are not in that same boat. because these do have really good macros as well. You can see almost 20 grams of protein per pepper, only 9 grams of fat, so about a 2-to-1 ratio. And what I typically do is just have 2 of those for lunch or dinner. And again, that's super easy. You take that top off, throw it in the oven, bake it for a little bit. Don't have to do any dishes. Throw it into your meal prep container and it's ready to go. These are some honorable mentions here. They do have street taco kits, but these ones are 12 grams of protein per taco. Fat content's not too bad, so it's about 2-to-1 as well. You could do their chicken quesadilla. This one you got to be careful with because it's got a lot of fat. 41 grams of fat per quesadilla, 37 grams of protein. So again, I would pair some extra protein with that. These two are going to be frozen meals. So I have the Frontera chicken bowls in here, so you can see these ones have pretty good macros, but again, 300 calories is not enough to fuel a grown man. So I would suggest having 2 of those for lunch. And if you do, you'll have 40 grams of protein. And then also the Costco chicken bakes, which these are so delicious, but I'd say they're a little on the unhealthier side in terms of ingredient profile. But you can see great protein, 35 grams of protein, 19 grams of fat, 840 calories. So you can honestly have one of those for lunch and be good to go. I also wanted to share some of the protein sources at Costco. So these aren't necessarily full meals, but what you could do is pair these protein sources with some carb sources from Costco and create your own kind of meal from there. But they do have these garlic chicken legs on there. So 33 grams of protein, 27 grams of fat, close to a 1-to-1 ratio, not too bad. We also have the St. Louis smoked ribs, which I was actually pleasantly surprised when looking at those macros. 23 grams of protein, 13 grams of fat. That's almost a 2-to-1 ratio. So that would be a good option. These are already cooked and ready to go. And you just mix your barbecue sauce on there. And then also a bunch of these protein options. So you can see the fully cooked chicken breast bites we've already seen. They do have a 6-pound pack of pulled rotisserie chicken. So you can buy that. That should last you for 2+ weeks. You'll be good to go on protein. They also have these chicken skewers, which I have not tried yet, but I will say they look delicious. And then I've got some pork options, so carnitas and smoked pulled pork. So pork, you typically have to be a little more careful with because the protein to fat ratio is going to be closer to that 1-to-1. So that's why I was expecting these ribs to be, a little bit higher in fat content. So your best bet would be going for something like chicken, but if you want some pork and you can afford that in your quote unquote calorie budget for the day, by all means, these are some great options as well. So I wanted to go through an example meal plan with you guys. This one's going to be from Walmart, and these are all things that we have seen within this training. So for breakfast, I'm going to make that parfait. For lunch, let's say we're going to do that kava bowl. So we got to get all these ingredients, let's mix it up real quick. Maybe I have like a pre-gym snack at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon after lunch. I got a protein shake, an apple, and some almond butter. And let's say I go to the gym after work and then I come back, have dinner at like 7 p.m. I'm going to have 2 of those lean cuisine balance bowls. That was, again, that glazed chicken one that had a good protein to fat ratio in there. And then maybe a pre-bedtime snack is this portable protein pack, and then a handful of some mixed nuts. So if I actually plug that into a calorie tracking app, you can see we've got breakfast here. This is how I would track the parfait. I scanned dinner. So we've got 2 packages of that glazed chicken from lean cuisine. This is the Mediterranean or copycat kava bowl. So we've got all that in here. Here is another snack. So that's the protein shake, apple, and almond butter. Again, you could do that for breakfast if you want to. And also the P3 protein snack and a handful of almonds. So that total comes out to be 190 grams of protein, 267 grams of carb, and 92 grams of fat. And that puts us at a total of 2,656 calories for the day, which is, I'd say, pretty average. Most people will probably be eating a little bit below that. But again, protein content within that whole context of the day is great. So if you're like 180 pounds to 200 pounds, you'd be eating right around the amount of protein that you would be needing to. But if you needed to get rid of some calories, you could easily swap out these almonds for something else, or just eliminate them completely, because that'll give you maybe another 150 calories that's just eliminated from the diet, and get rid of a lot of fat too. Same thing with this creamy almond butter. That's like 200 calories and just a lot of fat in there as well. Excuse me. So if you guys remember back towards the beginning of this live training, I said that you guys should absolutely download a calorie tracking app, because that's going to be crucial for whether or not, or it's going to be crucial for your weight loss journey, whether or not you are actually doing grab and go type meals or cooking your own meals. So it doesn't have to be these 4 apps, but what you should do is that as you're going through this process, you should start tracking and getting a pulse for where your average daily calorie intake is. Because again, you cannot measure what's not tracked. If we don't have that data, then how are we going to know what to change in order to lose weight at the rate that we want to? So if you're someone like me and you like seeing the big picture, like a day-to-day type basis, a monthly basis, and just a whole overview of things, I think these apps do have some limitations in that regards where you can see the day-to-day type picture, but I have this spreadsheet that I've created for you guys. It's pinned at the top of this Facebook group. It's in the featured post sections. So what you can do is you can click this video and watch the step-by-step guide on how I actually use this spreadsheet. It'll show you what your target calories are, how many calories you're averaging on a weekly basis, and then how compliant you were towards the target that you've set for yourself, and just gives great suggestions as far as, okay, here's the big picture, like what happened this week, what happened with my weight, how should I change this for the upcoming week? So again, you can click on that. And then if you do go over to YouTube on that, there's a free download link within that description for the video. I believe there's a link, a download link in that post as well. So if you have trouble finding that, please let me know. I'll be happy to point you to that. But if after all of this, you're like, Tyler, this is great. Like, I think these ideas are really good ideas as far as not having to cook and still hitting my weight loss goals, but I still don't know how to calculate my calories. I don't know how much I should be eating to lose weight. Even if I am tracking, I'm not sure how to make changes in order to actually lose weight at the rate that I want to. And plus, all this is just nutrition. Like, what about workouts? What do I do on the fitness side of things? Well, I would encourage you to think about potentially becoming a member of the Physique Lab coaching program and signing up to be an official lab partner, so you can see some of the amazing results that we are getting from clients within our system right now. But again, the whole approach that we take is sustainable weight loss without having to give up the foods that you love. So if you saw what we went through in terms of the example meal plan, we weren't actually doing a meal plan, right? Like, it was a meal plan for the context of giving you the idea, but you could very easily substitute out any of those ideas that we went through within the entirety of this training, right? So what we'd want to do within our coaching program is teach you the skills that we're talking about today, and how do I actually incorporate things that I enjoy eating into my diet as a whole, so that way I can still lose weight and reach those weight loss goals.
There you have it, guys. All of my no cook or minimal cook time meal prep ideas, so that way you can see success on the scale without having to waste hours in the kitchen every single weekend. And before we part ways, I know I was just showing you a slide that had a bunch of client results and testimonials. So if you are interested in learning more about the Physique Lab coaching program, I do want to make you aware of a video that we have here on the YouTube channel that explains everything in extreme detail. So what I'll do is I'll put that thumbnail down below so you know what to look for, but I'll also link it as a time card somewhere up here, so you can go ahead and click on that and it will take you to the video, or I will also link it down in the video description as well. So click up there or down there and you can check out that video and learn how we're getting our clients such amazing results. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, turn those notification bells on so you don't miss when I post a new video. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.